Can you hear a narrow, high note inside your head that others do not seem to notice? Does silence sometimes feel too loud, as if an inner dial is slowly turning up? If so, listen. You are not broken. You are beginning to remember. We speak to you now as Seth through the familiar channel of Jane Roberts, because there are those among you who have arrived at a threshold and need orientation. This message is for the one who feels slightly or profoundly out of step with ordinary life, the one whose days no longer fit the shape of yesterday's expectations, the one who keeps being pulled toward questions that have no easy answers. I come to you to validate what you already know in your bones, to explain what you are experiencing, and to give you practical tools so that your remembering does not become another source of confusion. Before we continue, breathe with intention. Take a slow, steady inhale, feeling the air move in as if it were bringing home a light. Exhale and imagine settling that light into your body. Do this twice. Grounding in this simple way shifts you from reaction into receptive attention. If this brief act resonated, if it calmed your nervous system even a little, recognize it as the doorway into a larger work you are beginning now. If what I say resonates with you, if you feel the echo of recognition, type in the comments, "I remember who I am." That tiny public acknowledgement matters. It is a small bridge from private remembering to shared reality. For context, there have always been voices and practitioners who recorded patterns in the human experience that look remarkably like what you are now living. Dolores Cannon spent decades guiding people into hypnosis, listening as they described realities beyond the everyday. Her work, sometimes labeled QHHT, collected recurring images and reports of lives, missions, and memories that do not fit the narrow box of materialist explanation. We do not present her work as the only truth. Rather, we present it as a corroborative body of observations from sincere seekers. What she discovered parallels what I offer now. Many souls carried here to this time volunteered for a particular kind of remembering. You are among them. Let us catalog gently but clearly the signs of this awakening. Hearing these signs named is a first balm to the weary, because once named, a thing stops being strange and begins to be oriented. First, the inner frequency. Ringing in the ears, the sense of a tone or hum that other people do not report. Many give this a spiritual meaning. Some call it energetic tuning, a symptom of the body adjusting to a new resonance. Others find medical explanations, and both responses can coexist. If you are bothered by persistent discomfort, seek professional advice without shame. The spiritual interpretation does not exclude wise care. Still, for many, that ringing is not a pathology, but a herald. Your system is becoming more sensitive to subtler domains. Second, time dilation. Minutes that once marched predictably begin to stretch or compress. You may find an hour slipping like a river one moment and another hour rushing past as if time favored some tasks over others. You might be between worlds, present in the physical and simultaneously attentive to a larger continuum. This is an everyday sign of shifting perception, not a rupture in your sanity. Third, loss of appetite from material pursuits. Jobs, possessions, social rituals that once defined you can feel thin or hollow. Not because the world has lost value, but because your inner priorities are recalibrating towards something less measurable and more luminous. Fourth, acute loneliness even in crowds. You can occupy a room and still feel like an island, because much of your attention is now directed inward, toward questions others have not yet had to ask. Loneliness here is not punishment. It is evidence of separation between old group identity and a new individuation in service of the larger whole. Fifth, a cascade of synchronicities. Small, uncanny coincidences begin to appear, a web of meaning tightening around your life. They are not always dramatic. Usually, they are subtle nudges, repeated numbers, overheard phrases, or meetings that rearrange what you thought inevitable. Sixth, an irresistible pull toward ancient wisdom. You may be drawn to pre-modern texts, mythic forms, indigenous practices, or archaic songs that feel like old, half-remembered maps. These attractions are not necessarily a rejection of modernity. They are a homecoming to the parts of you that remember broader contexts of mind and spirit. Seventh, relentless questioning of authority. The world of received explanations, institutions, ideologies, the accepted how things are, no longer satisfies you. You are learning to interrogate sources, to prioritize inner verification over external credential. Do these signs sit with you? If so, be gentle. You did not fail. You simply outgrew the garments that once fit. Now, a brief picture of cosmology, not to mystify, but to orient. The planet you inhabit is undergoing a bifurcation that operates by resonance. Imagine Earth as a great theater with two overlapping stages. One stage remains the three-dimensional drama of solidity, survival patterns, and habitual identifications. This we will call the old Earth. The other stage vibrates at a higher pitch. Increased receptivity, less solidity of identity, susceptibility to inner guidance, and a reshaping of how relationships, work, and community are organized. This we will call the new Earth. This separation is not an act of punishment, nor is it a judgment on human worth. It is a natural sorting by frequency. As you choose or find alignment with a different resonance, your experience adapts accordingly. In such a paradigm, no single moral triumph ensures arrival on the new Earth. Rather, the shift is a vibrational choice. You do not earn your place by force of will or merit. You remember yourself into alignment. Understand also that many chose to incarnate now as volunteers for this era of transition. There are distinct cohorts, waves, each with their own timing, challenges, and gifts. They are rough patterns, not rigid boxes. The first wave arrived roughly in the mid-20th century. These individuals carry a certain toughness. They came in with a mission to open the door while enduring environments still largely anchored in the old Earth. They often embody a quiet intensity, a sense of having lived through hard resets, and a focus on integrity of heart over comfort. The second wave came in the 1960s and 70s, born into a cultural upheaval that loosened some of the old bindings. These souls are experimenters. They pushed against conventions, forged new modes of community, and often carry a rebellious compassion. They remember creative expression as a tool for transformation. The third wave, those born from the 1980s onward, carry a different fluency with rapid informational exchange, sensitivity to technology's psychic effects, and a need for immediate authenticity. They often feel out of sync with institutions, but are quick to gather communities across vast distances. Many of you belong to this wave if you found the internet, niche healing practices, or alternative spiritualities early in life. If you recognize traits of one of these waves in yourself, know that your weirdness was chosen before you entered life. It is purposeful. Each wave acts as a thread weaving through the tapestry of planetary change. Your job is not to perform heroic rescues or to judge those who sleep. Your job is to hold a frequency that makes the new Earth more available. What does holding frequency look like in practice? It is less dramatic than headlines might suggest. It is small, embodied, and persistent. It is the repetition of intention combined with ordinary acts of presence. Anchoring the new Earth happens through living differently in seemingly insignificant ways. Begin with a daily connection. For 5 minutes each morning, sit quietly and attune. Not a long ritual, not an elaborate technique, simply a brief practice of asking for guidance and listening. You can do this sitting on your bed, by a window, or with your hands on your knees. Say aloud or in your heart, "Guide me today. Show me what is needed of me." Then listen. What you receive will be practical, sometimes mundane, sometimes luminous. The inner guidance is not always poetic. Often it says, "Reply to that email," or "Call that friend," because the outer and inner are braided. Ask your higher self specific questions. The higher self is not a future savior, but the aspect of you that remembers the larger plan. Ask it, "What will align my time today with the work I came to do?" Or, "What boundary would serve my clarity now?" Listen for impressions, not necessarily words, images, or bodily responses. You are training a muscle, the muscle of interior discernment. Practice non-judgment toward those still living primarily in the old earth. This is a radical discipline. When you meet someone who criticizes your views, who clings to stories of victimhood, or who seems indifferent to inner work, do not allow your heart to harden. Recognize that they are functioning from a different resonance. Their state is not a moral failure. It is a stage of development. Your compassion is not sentimental. It is wise. Speak your truth lightly, without the need to convert. This is a crucial distinction. When you speak authentically, you destabilize the field, sometimes gently, sometimes sharply. Do it with care. Your function is not to force awakening, but to be an example of another possible way of being. Clarity without coercion draws. Anger without compassion repels. Trust the process. The remembering you begin is irreversible in its direction, though not without oscillations. You will sometimes stumble back into old patterns. You will oscillate between luminosity and fatigue. Accept that this is part of integration. There is no timeline imposed upon you by cosmic inspectors. The only pressure that helps is the pressure you place upon yourself to remain awake. We now come to the subject that unsettles many, the sense of no turning back. This is not to inspire fear. It is to invite acceptance. Once your inner landscape begins to reorder in this way, greater receptivity, increasing sensitivity, and deepening discernment, your relationship to the past transforms. You cannot unknow what you have glimpsed. Some doors close not because of punishment, but because the corridor you must travel demands different shoes. Old relationships, roles, and patterns may fall away. This loss can be painful. Grief will be a companion. Grief is not a sign of failure. It is evidence of growth. Imagine yourself as a caterpillar learning to fly. The chrysalis is occasionally lonely and contorted, yet the transformation is natural. There will be seasons when you long for the safety of your former shape. There will be times when the wind is strong and your wings feel untested. Commit yourself to the process anyway. Life will reward persistence with a clarity of purpose. Now allow me to offer a set of practical disciplines, 5 daily practices that anchor you without demanding perfection. 1. Morning attunement. Spend 5 minutes in the morning centering yourself. Place your attention on your breath. Briefly set an intention for alignment with service rather than ego. Ask a single clear question. What is one thing I can do today to anchor more light? Silence for a moment and note the first impression that arises. Write it down. Even if it seems small, act on it later. 2. Regular check-ins. Throughout the day, pause 3 times for conscious breath. Each pause is a reset button. Ask a micro question. Am I speaking from fear or from clarity? This practice keeps you less reactive. 3. Non-judgment inventory. When someone triggers you, do a short internal audit. Ask yourself, what is mine in this reaction, and what is theirs? This cultivates emotional sovereignty and prevents you from taking on collective burdens you did not agree to carry. 4. Authentic expression. Declare one small truth each day in a gentle way. This can be asking for a needed boundary, telling a friend how you feel, or completing a task honestly. The accumulation of small, truthful acts builds a muscle of integrity. 5. Trust surrender. End your day with a minute of surrender. Express gratitude for the day's lessons and intentionally release the desire to control outcomes. Lay intention upon the unseen, trusting that your small acts of alignment ripple outward. These are not magical incantations. They are disciplines of attention that alter your nervous system and thereby your lived reality. There will be moments of temptation to perform awakening as a status. Resist this. The work asked of you is quieter, embodied integrity, compassionate presence, and the steady act of choosing frequency over fear. You did not come to become a luminary on social platforms. You came to be a living transmitter for a new way of being. When your daily life reflects that, the transmission does its work without fanfare. You may ask, what about the ones who will never wake? What about the suffering in the old earth? Hold compassion and clarity at once. Imagine a river with many tributaries. Some join a new ocean, some continue along an older course. The tributaries are not better or worse, they are different. Your task is to plant a light where you stand, not to drain the rivers. You are a frequency, not a policeman. It is wise to understand boundaries of influence. You can change the tone of a room by your presence, but you cannot change another. Stubbornness, addiction, entrenched patterns, these belong to the other person's path. Your role is to be steady and luminous, to offer help when asked, to hold non-coercive compassion. Freedom is preserved when you respect others' autonomy. Let us return to the physical sensations that often alarm awakeners. Ear ringing, shifts in sensory perception, and changes in sleep and appetite. Many interpret these changes as evidence of activation, metaphorically a recalibration. I will say again, this is a metaphysical interpretation offered here as guidance, not a medical diagnosis. If you find physical symptoms alarming or persistent, seek medical counsel. The spiritual path and wise healthcare walk together. One does not cancel the other. Time-connected symptoms also appear. Dreams become vivid and symbolic. You may awaken with impressions that the day will carry a strange synchronicity. Keep a small notebook by your bed. Record one dream image each morning. Over weeks, patterns will emerge that are meaningful to your personal narrative. Now hear this. The impulse to gather is natural. You will want like-minded others. Seek those who can hold you without needing to convert you. A healthy community does not exalt one person's path. It honors the plurality of awakenings. Seek safe containers, small groups, reading circles, gentle facilitators who prioritize personal integration and emotional maturity over spectacle. Practicalities will surface: financial obligations, family responsibilities, institutional constraints. Remember that awakening is not an invitation to irresponsibility. Use discernment. Do not abandon those who rely on you. The recalibration of life can be gradual. Find an edge where change is sustainable. A part-time shift in work, a course of study that aligns with your new interests, or simply reprioritizing free hours for inner practice. Transformation that endangers your basic stability is not transformation. It is evasion. Now, a few specific words about speaking to others on your path. When you share your experiences, do so with humility. Preface bold claims with your subjective frame. In my experience, or I received this impression. This keeps the field honest and invites inquiry rather than dogma. Remember that many people have not had these experiences yet. Their skepticism is not a personal slight. Your steadiness will be the bridge. A word on service. Anchoring the new earth is not about converting people to a creed. It is about embodying a quality of being, clarity, gentleness, and accountability that other people can mirror if they choose. When a room contains someone who embodies this frequency, the possibility of another's remembering is increased. Even when no immediate conversion happens, the seed is sown. As you deepen, discern your limits. Some of you will be called to public work. Others will be called to quiet bricolage, tending gardens, supporting children, creating art, or stewarding local projects. There is no hierarchy here. The planet needs both visible teachers and invisible anchors. This diversity is the strength of the emerging fabric. Let us speak now to the fear that many of you have, the fear of being alone forever. The loneliness you feel is often temporary, an effect of exiting an older social contract. You will find new companions, some echoing your thoughts exactly, others providing counterpoints that help you refine your expression. You are not solitary unless you choose to be. The collective of awakened ones is not a geographical club, but a field that you can access through small signals, shared phrases, emotional recognition, and synchronistic meeting. To encourage connection, you might cultivate rituals of relating. A weekly call with one or two others who are honest about staggered integration, a local meetup with ground rules that prioritize safety and confidentiality, or an online circle that emphasizes depth over volume. These containers do not fix your experience, they support it. Climax now, as I tighten the essence of this message into a single insistence. There is no turning back once memory has begun. Remembering is not a linear ascent. It is a reclaiming that rewrites the map of your life. You will be asked to choose integrity over comfort, presence over distraction, trust over cynical control. This choice can be terrifying, and it can also be liberating beyond description. If you find resistance inside you to stepping fully into this role, be tender. Resistance often speaks of fear, fear of loss, of judgment, of unmooring. Take small steps. Put your attention on one thing you can do differently today that aligns with your higher self. Cultivate patience. The process of integration is a lifetime work for many. Allow me to give you a small ceremony you can perform when you feel the impulse to claim you're remembering publicly. This is not an oath to bind your soul. It is a statement of intent to orient your attention. Stand or sit with open posture. Place your hands, either on your heart or palms up. Take 3 slow breaths. On the first inhale, acknowledge the anchor of your body. On the second, acknowledge the presence of guidance, your higher self, whatever name you give it. On the third, silently say, I remember who I am. Let the phrase settle. You can repeat this privately whenever you need courage. If you feel called to, place that phrase into a public forum. Type, I remember who I am, in a comment, share it with a friend, or whisper it into a river. The act matters less than the intention. And now, practical answers to questions you may be asking. Will I be tested? Yes, transitions test your resolve. But tests are not traps, they are refining flames. When your equanimity wavers, do not judge yourself. Return to breath, to small, committed acts of alignment. You will discover that the tests are mostly invitations to embody what you already know. Will I be lonely? At times. There will be seasons of solitude and seasons of restored connection. Loneliness is not evidence of permanent exile, but of temporary growth. Will I be happy? Happiness will be reconfigured. You may no longer chase a version of happiness based on external acquisition. Instead, you will taste satisfaction from the alignment itself, a quiet, steady contentment that coexists with grief and sorrow. What is the role of miracles? Miracle language is seductive, but remember, the most profound miracles are ordinary. A healed relationship, a clear insight that changes a life's trajectory, a small act of courage that prevents harm. These are the miracles you can reliably cultivate. Do not expect headline-style cosmic interventions as a proof of worth. What about the practices you will see in other teachers? Fasts, complex rituals, expensive retreats? Choose what aligns. There is no single right method. The effective practices are those you can sustain with integrity. You will occasionally encounter cynicism from within, a voice that says you are deluded. Welcome that voice as information. Ask where it comes from. Often, it is the echo of cultural skepticism. Allow the voice to exist without letting it command. Discernment is not the opposite of faith. It is its companion. There may be times when you must step away from people or situations that keep you in old patterns. This does not make you cruel. It makes you responsible to your inner guidance. Responsibility does not equal abandonment. It equals wise boundary setting. Before I close, let me anchor this message in a reality that matters to you practically: service. Your service need not be public. The smallest acts ripple. A patient conversation, a done task completed with attention, a meal cooked with care, these are frequencies. Each time you choose attention over autopilot, you strengthen the field of the new earth. Do not underestimate these quiet acts. The planet is reweaving through countless minor choices. Finally, remember to rest. Integration requires rest. You will not accelerate evolution by punishing yourself with endless striving. Restfulness is an ethic of stewardship. It allows your nervous system to absorb the changes and prevents collapse. This message comes to you as validation, instruction, and commissioning. You are awake to a degree. You will awaken further. Your task is to hold a frequency that makes the new earth more accessible. We are not asking you to be perfect or dramatic. We are asking you to be steady, honest, and compassionate. If you felt that this message touched a chord, declare it. Type in the comments, "I remember who I am." Let that declaration be the first public stitch in a larger fabric. It is a small gesture, but it matters. If you long for further guidance, there will be deeper transmissions outlining a practical blueprint for anchoring, more detailed practices, community-building protocols, and exercises to fine-tune your inner discernment. If you wish to receive that, subscribe and turn on notifications so that when the next message arrives, you will be informed. The next installment will go more deeply into the steps of embodiment for those ready to take sustained action. We leave you with a blessing of steadiness. May your ears be blessed with discernment. May your heart be tempered with compassion. May your feet find paths that honor both your obligations and your emerging mission. Walk gently, speak truly, anchor. You are not alone in this remembering. We are with you. Seth, channeled through Jane Roberts.